Now, while you are roaming around and doing research for your video, you should always keep two things in mind. Always check your sources and always check your biases. Take this tweet I recently came across, for example. It's from a generally reputable Indian tech publication, and it is confidently claiming which phones emit the most radiation, citing Statista as a source. Well, the first clue that something might be a little bit fishy here is that Statista is often misquoted as a source. Statista, if you don't know, is an aggregator that shows lots of data sources from other places, all in one website. And so I decided to actually go check out where this data could be coming from. And here's what I found. In the original chart that they seem to be referring to, we can see that the radiation values that they have quoted were taken from the German Federal Office of Radiation Protections, which means only phones released in Germany were tested, and that this chart specifically omitted phones from brands like Vivo and Realme entirely. That might make sense for a German consumer, but it is rather misleading for an Indian consumer, which this publication is generally writing for, and it is definitely not painting a global picture either. Mistakes like these happen all the time. It's highly likely that this post wasn't intentionally deceptive, but just a poor unpaid social media intern who has to hit a quota, who doesn't have time to check 100 posts and make sure that everything is correct, etc., etc. But the point is, you come across data that seems convincing, but is actually wrong all the time. And it is your job as a video essay creator to track as much of the data that you're quoting back to its original source, and to make sure that it's actually legitimate. And second, also check your own biases. I often find that I have an assumption about something. I go to Google, I search for it, and voila, the internet confirms what I've thought all along. Well, it turns out the internet confirms just about anything if you just Google hard enough for it. Somebody will have written an article that agrees with you eventually. So be sure to expand your search terms, maybe search for the opposite of your assumption, and don't just look for confirmation. If you Google iPhone sales improving, you'll find articles saying that Apple is doing great, but if you Google the death of the iPhone, you'll find plenty of articles predicting just that too. Don't just go with your gut feel, double check your bias.